What's up, everybody? Casey and George back as we are every single Tuesday at 5 Eastern, 4 Central Time. It's October 3rd, 2023. Before we even get into this whole deal, don't forget to like and share this entire deal. We do all kinds of giveaways, bracket racing talk, drag racing talk in general. I know we got the Class Racers Revival going on. But before we get into this show, as we do every week, we got to thank the people that keep this for free to everybody on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, podcast format if you can't be here with us live. TSR Racing Products for your Power Glides, Turbo 350s, Turbo 400s, 727 transmissions, and parts if you need those. And they got those manuals if you can't afford somebody to do it for you. These manuals are just like a Haynes, man. Carl Monroe wrote those up a long time ago, and they tell you everything that you need to do. BRG 3D printed parts. Anything you need, Brian Garrett can print it up for you. He's got everything printed in those high-density polymers and plastics. Anytime that you need, you get all these new things, man, that you mount on your steering wheel. You mount these gauges everywhere. Brian Garrett, you give him some dimensions. He can print you something up to hold all these little one-off things that you may need for your race car. Syntex Printing out there in Temple, Texas for your decals, shirts, stickers, brochures, accessories, anything you need for your business. Business cards, obviously, got the name right in it. Call Syntex Printing out there in Temple, Texas. Driven Racing Oil, by far the best oil for methanol burning engines. Won't milk the oil. Everybody says it does. I can tell you right now that it won't. And use the code GBR10 and get yourself 10% off your order. Doesn't even have a limit on it, man. You could order $1,000 worth of stuff, get you 10% off. Switch over to Driven Racing Oil for any type of oil needs. They also have cleaning products too, man. Transmission fluid, all kinds of stuff. So any kind of petroleum-based products, call Driven Racing Oil. Proform Parts. Visit proformparts.com for your carburetors, alternators, starters, radiators, distributors, tools. Man, I could go on, but you just need to visit their website, proformparts.com, and see what all they got. And, of course, Crew Chief Pro software. And I saw Crew Chief Pro, man. Don Higgins got through first round out there at the Class Racer Revival out there in Super Comp. So, obviously, Crew Chief Pro is where you need to be at. If you have any, especially if you're one of those people that was racing out on the mountain last weekend, man, you could have benefited from Crew Chief Pro software. Visit crewchiefpro.com and get that on your Christmas list because we're getting in that general vicinity now, George. It's October. What have you been up to?
Not much. I'm getting a phantom caller right now, and I don't know who it is, so you showed me go on mute for a second. I'll let him leave a message and might have to check it during a commercial break or something, but not much, Casey, man. We get a good shot at going racing this week. I hadn't been out, and kind of similar to what you said, in about a month. So, might even be longer than that for me, dude, moving up closer to a month and a couple of weeks, but get a shot to going out and run at the cow pastures this week out in Ardmore, Oklahoma, and hoping old Mo stays on the same string he was on last time. You know, last time I was out, I turned on a few wind lights here and there. So, see if we can keep that string going. Get to take the fam out. The weather's starting to take a break, kind of similar to what you said. And I definitely got a Crew Chief Pro, so I'm going to be able to predict which old car's going to run. So, but otherwise, man, not much going on with me. Watching a little drag racing. Been watching TB, Foolproof Idea. They should have called it the Foolproof Racers Revival 2.0 because it was foolproof to have that race slated between the national event last week and the double divisional out at St. Louis this week. Well, sneaking a couple of 10Ks right there, right before everything gets going. Number one, it's test hits test data for the race coming up for the double divisional. But then number two, I think you're running for a lot more money than what you generally run for. So that's kind of a win-win situation for those who are already at that racetrack. So hats off. I'm not going to take it off because I have to take off my headset. But hats off TB crew for putting that race in there. It's pretty sick. So real quick, do a little clerical work, Casey. We do it a little different today. Let's talk about some racing that's coming up, man. As everybody knows, we do a little bit of promotion for the promoter. It's just the way it is. If you like what we do, give us a call. We'll do it for you too. I'm rhyming again, Casey. I'm sorry. But here we go with the first race. And, of course, one of the larger races to round out the year, in my opinion, for the amount of money that you got to pay to get into it. $525 gets you into a 50, 50, 50. All right. 350s, trip 50s. Call it what you want. Right? SFG calls it the low rate bracket race. All right, so very good race going on right here, happening at Capital City Motorsports Park. I believe it's called Montgomery Motorsports Park now. I'm just not 100% sure. November 9th through the 12th there. Make sure you've got your spot. If you don't have it, be careful. He's only taking 450 entries from what I can see. So definitely going to be a pretty good race. Got the 15K warm-up. It's kind of normal for an SFG event to have a pretty sizable warm-up event. So looks like some gamblers races and then some door car races going on every day at this race as well. So if you lose first round, you better stay out of that cooler. Get you a good chance to get back in and get some more racing in. We also have what I would call the Lucky Sevens, except Casey, as I mentioned to you over the phone not too long ago, they have turned the Lucky Sevens last event, October 13th through 15th, into the Lucky Tens. You heard it here. Going bracket racing, community, Central Illinois drag strip. You guys are doing a heck of a job with this series. I'm really liking what I see out of this. Honestly, I hope a lot of tracks far away from you, but have been watching this that will copy what you got going on. That way we don't bring much competition to what you have already at Central Illinois. But a lot of tracks need to see what's happening here. It's 6 different weekends of 10K, or excuse me, 7K. But this particular week, as a tribute, it's going to be called the Fast Daddy Memorial, moved up to a 10K to win in box, 1K to win in junior dragster. And if you got A's and B's, kids, stay in school, stay in them books. If you got A's and B's, you get into the race for free. Okay, so just an incentive to keep them kids in school. You know what I mean? Keep them hitting them books, staying out of trouble. Don't be going to that principal's office. Don't be talking back to the teachers and stuff like that. You know, I've got to say that. I know I got kids out here watching, so definitely a good shout out to the Central Illinois Dragway. I think you might hear some big news coming out of them. I'm not going to spill the tea. I'll let them do it for themselves, and then we'll talk about it later on Going Bracket Racing. You know how we do. And last but not least, the Del Polage race going on over there in close to the Baton Rouge area. Old Cody Polage is putting on a very good race, and run for tens, guys. You know, weekend entry, $400. Got 3 tens on the schedule. I'm sure there's going to be some other things going on. They got no boxers on the schedule. Definitely get a chance to look into this if you are looking to race closer to the Thanksgiving holiday season and things of that nature. But Casey, man, I also want to call out for CP while I'm on the subject. I know I'm getting a little parched, and I don't have no water in here, but CP's got something coming down the line in 2024. And what I will call out, and I won't spill all the tea, but I will say there is a no box bottom bulb racer shootout, and it's by invitation only for that portion of the second annual Racers Appreciation event. I do believe it's going to be at the same track. There is more information coming down the pipeline for this particular race. It's at State Capitol in Port Allen, Louisiana. The flyer's not out yet. You do not have to be invited to the appreciation race, but that embedded no box race, it's going to be a pretty big class of no boxers. I think they had a committee, Casey, that actually picked that out. So let's keep our eyes open for that. I'm going to stop talking now, Casey, and we can get into what we're going to talk about for the show today, dude. What we got going on?
Well, first of all, I want to tell everybody that this weekend we finally went racing this weekend because we've been having sickness and rain and all kinds of stuff, man. But I'm not going to go too far into it because we have a like 45-minute vlog, the longest one we've done so far. We got multiple cameras on it, things like that. So if you want to know what happened this weekend, the vlog's premiering at 9 o'clock tonight on the Going Bracket Racing YouTube channel. So go over there and check that out. Don't forget to like and subscribe to that, guys. So that way, whenever this stuff happens, then you don't even have to listen to us. You can just figure it out on your own. It'll just notify you. But long story short, I guess to give you a little backstory, we were supposed to go to one track, and then the race was canceled, and then all of our stuff was breaking. And then my phone started blowing up in the middle of the day, and then we hightailed it somewhere else. So it's pretty exciting. Got a lot of stuff going on. It's pretty humorous as well. I know you've already seen it. So, yeah. So anyway, 9 o'clock tonight.
That's Eastern, guys. You know,
that.
Casey gets in the habit of talking in Eastern time and then blames me for talking in Central time. But that's just how it works.
True.
Yeah, man. What we got going on today, Casey? Let's get moving. Big Jed in the house. I'm gonna call that out. He said the new name, Montgomery International Dragway. Definitely knew it was something of that nature. So glad to see new ownership out there, new timing system. I'm expecting pretty good things. I think that's probably where they're gonna have. Is that where the 500 is, Casey, or am I wrong about that?
I
think it might be.
I get confused. I get confused in that area. Jed will tell us.
Yeah, Jed will keep us honest.
But I get confused in that area, man, because I get Montgomery and Capital City. I can't ever remember if they're the same thing or they're a different thing.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of it's like out here, man. People call they call Galat. They call it Dunn Benson because that's what it used to be called for years and years and years. Dunn Benson drag strip. If you say that, everybody's going to say, where's that hole in the wall at? And then in reality, it's Galat Motorsports Park, one of the nicest places in the country. So JJ Pennington over here in the YouTube chat saying GABR 500K is at Montgomery. So we know.
We got it.
We at least know it's at Montgomery. Now, JJ, is that Capital City or am I, what's going on here?
I think that's going to be Montgomery International Dragway. So
okay.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah. Man, so the bulk of this topic is something we kind of came up with this weekend while we were making that vlog, honestly. And it was something, I was telling you a conversation that me and Champ had out at the racetrack. And you said, man, this is something we need to talk about on GBR, which is how many people who do you go to for advice at the racetrack? Because we all know sometimes getting too much information can actually hurt your racing program. And you kind of went into a long conversation about it, explaining kind of your thoughts on the situation. So I guess let's just start out by just saying that, man. What the original question, how do you even determine who you're going to listen to at the racetrack? Because people just have different ideas on everything, and nobody's necessarily wrong sometimes.
Yeah, man, and I like the idea. We haven't had an open discussion or what I would consider a stream basically surrounding open discussion and ideas coming straight out of the chat as well. So if you have thoughts on this particular subject, feel free to chime in. We'll read those out and get your take. Maybe help out a racer or two, including myself, in this particular subject. Casey, man, I always tell you a lot whenever I think about drag racing. Golf kind of creeps into my mind at the same time. And I'm not the greatest golfer in the world. I know some tricks. I've been in the 70s a few times if anybody plays golf. And generally hang around, mid-80s and then a few hundreds every now and then, depending. You know what I mean? It's golf, for crying out loud, right? But one thing that we have happen on the golf course quite a bit. Man, your swing is over the top. Man, your swing isn't strong enough. Man, you got to slow it down. You're trying to kill it. Man, aim your feet this way. Do this. Do that. Hey, man, you put that the wrong direction. You see where I'm going, right? I feel like the same thing happens in our sport, to where there are so many different ways to conquer what we're trying to do. Man, you got to do this with your air pressure. Oh, you ought to do this with your shocks. Man, you got to bleed it out. You got to turn them air bleeds out a little bit. Oh, man, you got to change the jets, man. Oh, it's the needle and seat. Who do we listen to? Or in another words, do we pick as racers our own committee to go to whenever we have questions about the sport? Casey, you go with that. I know you and our thoughts are probably going to be pretty similar, but you go first.
Well, it's kind of funny you started mentioning carburetor stuff, and that's a perfect example because there are so many ways to make a carburetor work the way that you need it to work. Somebody might have a certain size, jet in their carburetor, but because of the size of the air bleed, that is irrelevant to your carburetor and won't work the same way. There's so many things working together in a carburetor that someone might be telling you something that worked on their car, but it's for a totally different reason than what would do something for your car. And essentially what I'm trying to get at is that person might not be telling you necessarily incorrect information. And honestly, certain things may work in your car because there's a general area where everybody works within in the carburetor scenario that I'm talking about. So you might luck out, but you don't really understand why things worked that way. So you need to find somebody that you can kind of hook up with that's willing to teach you things that you don't know and you're willing to teach them things they don't know. And together you can figure things out, because the main problem and I've had this before too, whenever I started asking a whole bunch of different people certain ideas of how to do this and how to do that, how to drive in this scenario and that scenario. The problem is every single person that you start talking to for the first time, you're always starting at square one. You're always meeting for the first time. You don't know what that person is capable of. Some people are really good at explaining things in a way that they believe that they know what they're talking about, and it'll lead you in a totally incorrect direction because you trust that person because you perceive them as knowing what they're talking about, when in reality they just believe so much that they know that they can give off that persona. And ultimately, again, what you need to do is whoever you start learning with, if they are truly willing to learn with you, or they're willing to teach you, depending on what they know already, you guys can say, we tried this. Okay, that didn't work. Now let's try this. Okay, that didn't work, and kind of keep on going, or, oh, that made it a little better, things like that. But an example you gave me was more on the driving side of things. And you gave me the example of, if I'm parked next to Troy Williams Jr. and I say, how should I drive this race? Well, if Troy's in the car, he's going to say, well, he's driven everything there is to drive. He knows how to kill this and this and that and that. And he's going to say, well, what I would do is dial up, 3 or 4, and I would just drive it like I see it. And if it feels wrong, then I get out. Can you do that? Probably not, because you're not Troy Williams Jr.
Right. And that's an awesome point, dude. And in that instance, I can't get back to 00 or to dead on the same as he can. Can I let go 00? Well, yeah, I can. Most of us can let go 00 at this point in this sport. We got delay boxes. Old Dylan Champion can do it off the bottom. I mean, I just watched it, right? So, not to throw out any spoilers, by the way. My bad on the spoiler alert. But basically saying there's more than one way to do this here. So, I see one comment here, and I'm actually going to take William Thorsten first. He says, I have about 3 people. And that's about my number, William. And I even have it restricted to, when I'm at the racetrack, my cell phone goes on do not disturb mode. And only 3 people can even get through to my cell phone if it's going to be pertaining to drag racing. Anything else that can get through is going to be emergency only. Okay? But those 3 people would likely have my time slips for the day. Casey's one of them. My dad's one of them. Brad Gephardt's one of them. Those are the only people who can get through to me if I'm racing throughout the day. Because I feel, especially from Casey and Brad, my dad's just, he's good at it too. But Casey and Brad, you guys keep me in a zone, so I'm okay to take information from you two. It's not gonna beat me over my head. It's gonna be like, okay, this here and this here, right? So I like that information. But 3 people, I think, is a really, really, really good number. Casey, how many do you have on the list? And we'll go back to driving skills after the fact.
Man, well, as far as tuning stuff, obviously number one's my old man, and then my number two has pretty much become Adam Boolia at this point. It's one of those things too where it's like, and I know that I'm this way too. Unless I can physically be there or touch something, I can't tune something over the phone, man. It's really hard for me. I have to sit there and look at it and see what's there and think about it and things like that. Man, there's only a few people. My dad, Ken Jones, and really Adam are the only people that I know that can truthfully tune something over the phone. It's crazy. Chata 75 over here saying I just cut the phone off. So I mean that's a good thing to do also. But at the end of the day, man, too much information can screw you up just as much as not enough information. And at a certain point, no one knows your race car better than you do. If you're a person who's, like I said, if you're trying to learn and you're mechanically inclined, and even if you're not mechanically inclined, like I said, probably 3 years ago on this show when we very first started, do you think Pat Musey just showed up on this earth knowing how to be the best nitrous tuner? Well, there's an argument between him and Ricky Smith, but you know what I'm saying,
Yeah,
so
I do.
I'm in North Carolina, so I got to go with Ricky Smith.
No, tricky one.
Well, Pat Musey's here too now, though. But anyway, so the point is that no one knew how to do what they're doing without learning how to do it first. It wasn't just magically in their head. But if you're a person who is legitimately willing to learn and you're going to try things and you're going to figure it out and you're really going to try to work at it to figure it out, first of all, there are people out there who are smart that are going to recognize that are going to help you if you ask. And second of all, you just need to pay attention who you're listening to, who works on their own stuff. Number one thing that I see is people listen to tuning advice from people who don't build their own stuff.
Interesting.
And that doesn't make any sense to me.
Zero.
Like why would you think, and that person may know, but I'm just saying that why would you listen to somebody who won't do their work on their own car? That doesn't make any sense to me. If you're learning to work on a car, for example, if you're learning how to stock shelves at Walmart, you talk to the stocker at Walmart. You don't talk to somebody on the road at, Speedway at the gas station while you're getting gas. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
No, and that's spot on, Casey. And I'm going to be honest with you. When it comes to mechanics, my list is reserved to one person, and that is my old man as well. He put the car together. He knows the car. He knows the combination. He knows the spark plugs all the way down to what wires is on it. He knows everything about that car, right? So it's very easy for me and Mo to, when it comes to mechanics, talk to my dad about it. Now, I have leaned on Vince Taylor a little bit out here in Texas. He's a pretty good friend of mine, and he's mechanically sound. Came and helped me change the rack and pinion in old Mo when I broke it. Those are things that I've never really done on my own. But like you mentioned before, Casey, you really want to surround yourself with somebody who's not only going to help you fix it if that's the case, but show you at the same time. And then you can show a little bit of what you know. Even if it isn't on your own car, and say you're just pitted next to somebody. Yeah, I might not be able to change a rocker arm off of a car, or I'm pretty sure I could have just never done it. But I might not have had that experience. If you're going through that, I'm probably not going to get my hands dirty in that particular scenario. But I'll tell you what I will do. I'll get you a 9/16 wrench. I get you that wrench and help you get what you got going on, you know what I'm saying? And at the same time, while I'm handing off a tool, I might look like the glorified helper, but guess what's happening inside of my head? I'm learning, dude. So being around people like that, you hit the nail on the head, in my opinion, as it pertains to how to learn from people and picking the best person to go to. So what else you got on this subject, man? I know it could get kind of dense, and I know you guys might even have better ideas. Here's one from Ron Huntley. I'm not a mechanic. I know enough to get myself in trouble, and sometimes enough to get out of it. Case in point, he says he's not a mechanic. He will actually ask somebody, how do I fix that if I don't know something about it? And if I do know something, I know just enough to get myself in trouble. Do you feel the same, Casey? I kind of feel the same in that situation, to where if I know how to fix it, if I know how to stop my car from spinning a little bit, well, I know how to go under there and adjust the shocks a little bit. I'm not scared to do that on my own,
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, too, it's kind of one of those things where tuning is not engine building, and tuning is not building a chassis and things like that. Which is kind of the point that I'm making here. Here's a really good comment on the YouTube side by Supercomp over here. He says Bickle builds cars, Elite builds motors. They win the championships. That is what it is. So I mean, that's kind of what we're going back to, is just the expert in a certain area is the one you want to talk to. In fact, behind this computer monitor right now, there's actually a Jerry Bickle book that explains how chassis setup works. And that's what I go back to, is that I don't claim to know everything about anything, or even a little bit about anything. But like I said, that book's back there. And the reason it's back there is because I'm teaching myself how to do all this stuff, I go through here and look at stuff and find ideas. It doesn't tell you, it's not just a magical book that tells you how to do everything with racing. It just gives you a general idea, and then it gives you the ideas of the questions that you can then ask someone, like for example, my dad, who is an expert in those areas. And then I can ask him, sometimes if you don't know enough about something, you don't even know what question to ask. True. Because you have no idea where to go. But the point is, you just need to be able to be willing to learn along the way. And at a certain point, you need to be willing to understand that, even though, because this is how I am, I always compare myself to the people that I've known growing up. The people you and I both grew up with are extremely smart. They're people we know don't buy motors. They build motors. People don't buy chassis. They build chassis. If they don't know how to do it, they learn how to do it. And I always compared myself, and this was my problem. And this all goes back to, again, the conversation. This isn't the conversation we went into, but this was kind of my roundabout way of getting to the point with when I was talking to Champ about this weekend. At a certain point, you get to the point where you do know enough to really make a dent in the situation, and you do know enough to start making decisions that are going to be the correct decision. But you still perceive yourself as way beneath everybody else, because you think, like, for example, my thing was always that I would always compare myself to the knowledge my dad has. Most people don't have the knowledge he has, period, let alone somebody, who's learning. And me growing up next to him all the time, I'm like, man, how does he know that? How does he understand that? And then I started learning a little bit, and I got to the point where I could be dangerous with some stuff, with what I understand. And I still don't know anything. If I knew 75% of what he knows, whenever, at some point in my life, then I'm going to know more than most people, But the fact of the matter is, at a certain point, you need to stop comparing yourself to that and start trusting yourself and realizing that, hey, I can do this. I can do this by myself. I don't need any help. I don't need to second guess myself. I can handle it. And that was kind of my point with Champ this weekend, as you'll see in the vlog when you watch it later, when it premieres at 9 o'clock tonight on the Rack Racing YouTube channel. Just saying. That was the conversation he and I had. He was asking me, what do you think I should do in this situation? And I told him, I said, you're driving great tonight. Like, you're probably driving better than most people at this track right now, bottom bulbing, better than the top bulbers. I said, you need to just keep doing what you're doing and stop second guessing yourself and asking everyone else what you should do, because what you're doing is winning the rounds.
Right.
So you need to keep doing what you think you should do.
Right. You segued me right into my next thought process too. And after this thought process, I'll get it out. We'll go into a commercial break here and give our marketing partners some air. You guys make sure to support those who support us in the sport of bracket racing as well. So, but Casey, man, you said a mouthful there, and I always take it back to golf. I'm going to do it again. Nobody swings the golf club the exact same. You can watch all the YouTube videos you want to, and none of that will work for you because your body stature, your skill set doesn't equal up to the person that you're watching do it likely. Instead, you get into a groove for yourself. You find things that you like about what somebody else is doing. Maybe they're staging a certain way. Maybe they're racing the finish line a certain way. I don't really care. You practice it. You take the goods and the bads and you throw the bads away and keep the goods for yourself into the bag of tricks that you already know for yourself. Okay, that's what's going to make you into the strongest version of yourself in the first place. Is to lose and come back and win because you learned from that loss. That's the name of the game here. So hang in there, guys. We're going to come back. We'll probably be on the same subject. We may hit a different subject after this, but don't go anywhere. Hit that like, share, subscribe. We'll see you in a couple of seconds. BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts are able to provide you with whatever you desire to enhance your drag racing operation. Items like safety belt magnets, nitrous bottle holders, and even quick release delay box mounts are able to be obtained from BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts. Have a look at top selling items such as helmet hooks and steering wheel hooks, which are proven to make it easier to maneuver throughout your race car. You can contact BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts at telephone number 765-729-1177.
TSR Racing Products has everything you need to make your Powerglide Turbo 350, Turbo 400, and 727 transmissions the best they can be on the street or at the track. With exceptional products, customer service, and over 30 years of experience, TSR Racing Products is always available to help their customers with any of their transmission needs. In-house machining ensures you only receive the best products from TSR Racing. Visit TSR Racing Products at tsr-racing.com or give them a call at 800-394-5889.
Our third-generation slim wireless vehicle scale is worth the wait. You can read cross weight, side-by-side weight, and front and rear weight, in addition to the standard weight for each wheel and total vehicle weight. You can also view on the included backlit LCD screen, complete with control buttons. The full-size 15 by 15 inch aluminum scale pads are only 1 5/16 inches thick. Each pad can hold up to 1,750 pounds for a total scale capacity of 7,000 pounds.
All right, welcome back. Thanks for joining us here on Going Bracket Racing every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central. I did it for you, Casey. It's spoken Eastern terminology for once. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us. Thanks everybody over at the marketing partners that we have: Proform Parts, Crew Chief Pro, Syntex Printing, Ken Jones Performance. Some of the best alcohol carburetors out there. At least I know the best at tuning them, if you ask me. I don't know anybody better than Pinky. So Team 14 Motorsports, BRG Motorsports, 3D printed parts, TSR Racing Products, Driven Racing Oils, and those guys over at Your Ad Here. You need anything along the lines of marketing or the partnership that comes along with what we do here at Going Bracket Racing, give us a shout. goingbracketracing@gmail.com. We also have our Facebook page, our YouTube page. You'll get a hold of us one way or another. Hit us up on Facebook, doesn't matter. But definitely, man, Casey, a pretty good conversation we have in here, and I think we're going to segue into a new topic. So get ready for something new here. But before we go, I just want to leave you with a little bit of a statement or a kind of a quote that a good Bernie Mac once had. If people don't like you, if you're being yourself, and then he said a few cuss words after the point, but just pick new people to be around. Do your thing is all I'm trying to get at out there on that racetrack. When it comes to who you have in your inner circle, be careful not to have so many people so quick to bark at you but lose first round every doggone race. That might have been me, so I might have needed to been quiet right there. So let's move on to the next subject, Casey. What we got?
Well, it's a topic that we've talked about before, but seems to keep coming up, and it makes sense why it does this week. Door cars seemingly sweep the weekend at the Spring Fling Bristol. So I guess the simple question is, why are we still doing this? And my personal answer is because door cars show up more. There are more door cars that will show up whenever they're separate from dragsters, because people still, for some reason, perceive the dragster as an advantaged race car. And to be fair, it is advantaged if you're thinking about, if you're a guy that's just going to buy something and go race, the dragster will always be better than the door car because it is a purpose-built race car. And that just is what it is. It's made to do what it's doing. So even a dragster at an 85 percentile, as far as being good and going dead on, that dragster will be better than a door car that's at the 90th percentile because it doesn't have the same factors to work with as a door car. But at that same time, if you're willing to put the effort into a door car, I know lots of guys, and obviously a Spring Fling knows lots of guys too, that have door cars that are better than a lot of dragsters. And all this crap about the door cars on the track longer, dude, I don't believe that at all. Like as far as physics, that's how physics works. That's not how physics works, first of all, because you're changing physical properties with suspension adjustments and tires. And the only thing that physics affects is a headwind. A headwind blowing at you in a door car will affect you more than a dragster.
Sure.
And that's all that physics plays into it.
Sure.
Because you can adjust traction and things like that with suspension setups and 4-link setups and ladder bar setups
Tire
and things like that.
And things of that nature.
Yeah. I mean, there's ways to overcome that. So that whole door car stay on the track longer, that doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense.
I gotta play devil's advocate a little bit here. That's what we do in our back and forth here at Going Bracket Racing. If you've never been here, welcome. I'm seeing quite a few more new followers actually joining in today, Casey, which is it's good here. Thanks for joining in the community. Hope you hit that like button and stick around for a little while. But I must say that in my opinion, there's more to the door car pandemic, epidemic, whatever you want to call it, because it's taking over completely right now. In my opinion, there's more to it, because on the same breath that you say dragsters are better, those same dragster drivers also drive door cars. Yep. So there is a art that is happening right now inside of the four wall. Number one, you're safer anyway, all that metal around you, right? Nah, I'm just playing safe either way. But door cars, man, I don't know what it is. There's something going on out there that door cars now have an advantage. Is that a true statement? Is the question that I pose to you. Because seemingly you're seeing even the dragster drivers, and I can name a few. I'll go with Will Holloman, for instance. He could drive dragster or door car and really, really hurt you in either one of them.
And to be honest with you,
Gary Williams Jr., Luke Bogacki, he'll get in the door car, he'll get in the Vega and wear you plumb out, and then he'll get in his Corvette and wear you flat out, and then he'll get in his dragster and do the same thing. What is going on with door cars at big money bracket races that is causing them to win is what I want to know. And then number two, somebody loan me some money. I got a door car, and I think I can win too. That's all.
Well, the bottom line is, man, is that you're still not seeing nobody racers win these races. Perfect example, like you were saying, those dragster drivers get in the door car and do just as good. There's a guy named Corey Galletti you all might know. What did he do? He just won $60,000 at SFG. Michael Pascal, who was down to 3 cars on Friday night, he'll win just as much in his Falcon as he will in his dragster. Michael Jackson, he's had dragsters before.
Right.
He won the whole deal this weekend.
Right.
These aren't nobodies, man. Like these,
right.
Scotty Richardson can win in anything. It's a matter of, first of all, the quality of the driver in the car. That's number one. Number two, you have the ability to either pay somebody or learn it yourself on how to make a door car good anymore because the technology's there. Again, the whole deal about the being on the track thing makes no sense, because that then means that if you have a door car going 470 and you have a door car going 650, then the 470 door car should be more consistent. That's not true, because now you're having to overcome traction issues and you're track dependent and things like that. But you also have the ability to apply power differently, which is what everybody always forgets about. So you can dig the track harder down the track. Whereas my 650 Nova, when I leave the starting line, whatever it's doing at about 250 feet, that's what it's doing. We're just rolling now.
Right.
Yeah. But then my dad Chevelle, I can apply power, past the 8th mile if I want to, So it's just that's just a flawed logic, in my opinion. I think that anything can be good. It's just a matter of whose hands are on it.
Yeah, man, and I'm with you on that 100%. I'm seeing comments in here, and this is spot on, George Hoffman. He's tired of hearing that it's easier on the door car's side. I don't necessarily think that to be true. And I don't think it's easier on the door car side either. I think drag racing, in particular bracket racing, is hard as a whole. And anybody who says it's just easy, well, they're one of the top 20 in the doggone game. If they're saying it's easy to them. I don't see them winning every single time, right? But another comment that I wanted to get to is down here. Randall Blinson says, you'll never know until you guys are commenting, I got to stay here, until you put them all together. Casey, we were going to go here regardless, and Randall has just so happened to done read our minds about the combining door car and dragster back into one class. Come on with it.
And I'm glad Randall was the one to say that, because Randall wins races in his Mustang and wins races in his dragster. That's another person who can win races in either one. And obviously he doesn't see it. I know Randall doesn't care, just
right.
like I know Michael Pascal doesn't care what he's driving either. But I would venture to say actually that it's harder on the door car side. And the reason being is because, like I said, you have to actually know what you're doing to make a door car work most of the time.
Right.
Second of all, there's more of a dial-in discrepancy, because you'll have 5.0 door cars, you'll have 650 door cars. So that's a second and a half difference. And that's a very common area. Notice I didn't go to the 470 side where there's not a lot of them. I didn't go to the 690 side where there's not a lot of them.
Right.
1.5 seconds. When have you seen a 1.5 second difference in a dragster side lately?
Yeah, I can't call it. I've not seen a 570 dragster, and the average is 470.
Travis Laster's got the fastest bracket dragster around pretty much, other than that Scoggin Dickey car and then that wild looking car, Davies or something like that. Of course,
Lewis has got a couple, but they run top dragster. Anyway.
Right. So you're talking 405, and you're talking at these days, a slow dragster would have to be 550 to make that same difference.
Shoot.
They don't see that. Most dragsters, I would say 75% of dragsters between 440 and about 480. That's 75, 85%. So
I have to do it too. I have to do this, and I think you've already mentioned it too. George Hoff again here is saying, if you're in a slow car, dragster, it's harder to be as consistent due to the fact you're out there more time and the elements affect you more. And I strongly have to, I ain't even going to strongly, but I have my reservations with that comment.
If it's windy, I agree. That's the only time I agree, though. Because it doesn't make any sense otherwise, because you can overcome it in different ways.
It's the same. And I know the skill of the racer can overcome that too. So there's a lot of missing variables that you can add back to that comment to make it just as even. I'm not here to say that slower door cars are more consistent than faster cars, or slower dragsters are less consistent than fast dragsters. I'm not here to say that, because I think that theory has been proven over and over again throughout many years of bracket racing, not just now. So the only time
that there is truth to the fast car being advantaged is whenever a track does not run true start. That is the only time. That's the absolute only time that the fast car has an advantage, because the fast car will always, unless it's not in every case, and I don't want to get into all this because I understand where I'm going with this, but if I say that the fast car is always more track dependent, they're going to be like, oh, well, what about a 490 dragster, Casey? Well,
sure.
We don't need to get into that. I know what I'm saying here, but the fact of the matter is the perspective that everybody's giving as to why the fast car is advantaged is not 100% true, is my whole point. It's slightly true, but it's not hundredths of a second true. It might be thousandths of a second.
And
Casey, we lose by thousandths of a second. Well,
let's do this, because we're going to go down a rabbit hole. We're going to go down that rabbit hole. I'm even seeing J.J. Pennington saying where he is in their neck of the woods, dragsters run door cars and door cars run dragsters, and it don't switch. That's how it is in my neck of the woods too. And the only neck of the woods that it isn't that way, in my opinion, is in big money world, where everybody is split. Casey, the way the door cars are sweeping and taking care of business right now, should it be door car on dragster, or however you pull into the lanes in your color, or do we keep them separate? I don't even understand why they're separated.
This is going to be this is something I randomly thought of today while I was throwing the ball for my dog, man. And it's going to be something that not one person in here probably is going to think of it. Actually, that's not true. If Michael Beard's watching, he'll be the only person that thought of this, I feel like. The reason to separate door cars and dragsters is because if you separate door cars and dragsters, you can typically have a door car doing a burnout while the other pair is at the 330 and they'll be staged. You can't do that when you're a door car racing a dragster because the dragsters have to burn over the line, back up, all this stuff. Door car does his burnout after the dragster starts backing up. If you watch Motor Mania, if you just scan to the beginning of the round of door cars and say there's 200 door cars, there could be 150 dragsters, and that dragster round will take longer by probably twice as long than the door car round. And that is why it's the burnout process. So that is why I say when we have these huge races that everybody likes to refer to as a marathon race, it's better to have the door cars separate because it legitimately saves you hours at the end of the day.
So I got another question out of the comments here. It says when they separated door cars and dragsters that the door car participation went way up. You find that to be true? And then do you attribute that to people kind of like myself? I don't like racing a dragster. I really don't. I'm not the greatest finish line racer in the world. Period. Right? I just don't like racing a dragster. That's it. So is that why participation went way up?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people like that. I personally would rather race a dragster because then I think no one can judge anyone because there's such a speed difference. You know, the Nova might go through there about 100 mile an hour. Average dragster will go 140, 150 mile an hour, and it's may the best man win. I feel like that puts me in a better position personally. Not to mention, my 650 door car can stop a lot faster than your dragster can, and I know it can because I've driven fast dragsters and I know what they do when you bomb the brakes. So,
sure,
and that's the truth. That's the truth, man.
I think the nature of it all, and it's coming. It's just not here yet for me. The only reason that I kind of think it's a true statement that maybe there are the participation went up is because I've never been a dragster pilot. I don't understand what it means to drive a dragster. I would say that the moment that I figure that part out, even if it's a 5, it can be 510. I don't really care how fast it is. I need to understand how those cars move, and I feel like there's a lot of other people out there like that. So you're just you're a little bit fortunate you've been in both, right, Casey?
Yeah, Steven Shepard, this is a good point. The average dragster beats the average door car. Average door cars don't make split rounds. That's true. That's 100% true. And that was my point earlier was an average dragster that you can just, if you're a guy that just wants to say you buy a motor from Shafroth, buy a transmission from TSR, buy a dragster from, just a used dragster off the internet, you put that thing together, put a Proform carburetor on it, just literally put the bolts in, get it running, go down the track, you're going to be top 85% of the cars there because a dragster is a purpose-built machine that's going to work.
Right.
Now, you do that same thing in a door car, you're going to have to do a lot more work. But my point is, if you apples to apples it and you give it to a capable racer who is capable or has somebody who is capable at setting the car up, that door car can be just as good as that dragster. And if the driver is someone like Gary Williams or someone like, Corey Galletti, we could go on and on. That driver, a lot of times, might prefer somebody like Will Holloman for sure. I think Will's better in a door car.
Sure.
I mean, you just think about it, man. Yeah, 4-wheel disc brakes versus 2. I mean,
sure.
There's so many more things you can do. If you spray nitrous on a door car, you could double the horsepower of a lot of door cars. Those dragsters already make 1,000 horsepower. It's just they can jump more. You can do so much more with a door car, and they take up less garage space. So it's a win-win-win.
Yeah, man. But are we getting there? And is this going to be one of those light bulb moments that happened right here on GBR Community where we end up seeing races go back to door car versus dragster earlier in the event? Not to say it has to happen in the very beginning. Yeah, keep it separate. And this is just an idea that just so happened to have crept into my head. I didn't have this coming into the show, but Yeah, we speed up the race whenever we keep it separate. That just makes sense to me. The whole burnout process and door cars waiting for dragsters to do their burnout when maybe we shouldn't any longer, and dragsters just need to be required to back up faster or something. I don't really know, right? But do we combine the cars sooner? Because seemingly door cars are taking it to the house right now, bro. To the house.
There's a comment here in the YouTube chat again. Bracket Racer 1, no sense in doing that. It's too easy to separate them. And I agree with that. I think the way to do it, if you're going to do it, is run everything down till there's one of whichever one, and then dump them in, just like you would do a no box car or something. Because almost all the time, there's always generally the same amount of door cars and dragsters within reason, and usually it takes the same amount of rounds to win most every race. Sure. For the most part.
Sure.
These big races, it always takes 9 or 10 rounds to win them. And most of the time, if you got down to round 8 and there was one door car left and 2 dragsters left, then round 9 is going to be the finals and run them off. So I think if you're going to do it, that's the way to do it.
Sure. I got another comment here, and I'm going to dispel it a little bit. We can stop better, but it's harder to judge when the race is behind you. That's a true statement, right? But it's also hard when the disparity is 450 to 650. And so that only works, it works both ways, basically. The logic is solid. It's sound in both directions. If you're the door car, it's harder to look backwards. But if you're way out there and the dragster's coming on you, I think it's just as hard to make a judgment coming forward as well. But I get what you're trying to say there, George Hall. Bashan here says, Lucky Sevens is mixed and door cars do just as good as the dragsters. Typically, there are more door cars in the semis than the dragsters. Yeah, no, I'm Bashan, I'm definitely in tune with that. That's the owner of Central Illinois Dragster, by the way. Lucky Sevens. I know he's got some big news coming. I'm not going to spill the beans. I'll let him spill it first. We can talk about it later. That I've already said that once, but now that I see he's in here, I'm going to say it again. But I definitely feel, and we're definitely going to know soon, Casey, because you got a few more big races. You got SFG. You got the guaranteed 500 coming. If door cars take the hat, and here's a shout out to you dragster drivers. I really don't care if a door car wins or a dragster wins, especially if I'm driving one or the other. It doesn't matter. I just want to win, right? But somebody gets the chance at winning $500,000, and this is our sport, and that is a good injection into bracket racing every single time it happens. So here's the challenge: you dragsters are getting your tails kicked out there right now, and I'm sorry to say it, it's happening. Door cars are really doing it right now, especially the fall fling and the summer fling, and the All-Star race. Was the All-Star race at the summer fling? Yeah, it was. I think so. Anyway.
Yeah, it was at the Columbus.
Anyway,
Columbus. Just say Columbus. I know that's right.
Columbus. And then we can go to the OG, where one dragster won at OG. One dragster won at the OG. So, hey, man. Hello, calling dragsters. You guys are getting y'all tail kicked. Hey. I whispered as much as I could so that I didn't tell everybody. But y'all getting y'all tail kicked out there.
Or just be like Corey Galletti, man. Just get in a door car and you win in that then too. No big deal.
Man, look.
So.
Look, man. Look, I want to see the best race possible, and I love me some dragsters. Somebody in the chat said it would be boring to drive a dragster. If I'm winning, ain't no such thing as boring, in my opinion. But man, I gotta feel that power. I gotta feel what it's like to drive a dragster. Yes, I've been 520s, low 520s is my fastest, but I want to see what 440, 430 feels like.
This is a comment that I made this weekend, because they had an outlaw race at the track we went to, and it's the end of the year and these guys have been running them hard all year, so we knew there was going to be at least one oil down, right? That's not uncommon for these outlaw cars that are a heads up deal. So we got to talking at the race, amongst everybody that was left. There's a guy out here, great racer. Like, as soon as I say this name, everybody in North Carolina is going to know who I'm talking about. Tommy Duff, probably one of the best race car drivers that's been out here ever. Won who knows how many championships. And Old Racer is the one who provoked this thought in my mind. old guys drive door cars forever. They know how they work and when they work. And that's the truth. I was talking to Tommy and I said, man, me and him and Dylan are standing there. And I was looking at the back of his window, and his back window says, like, Rockingham, winner, winner, winner. It says like World Finals winner or something like that. It says champion here, like all this stuff. And I'm sitting here and I said, man, Tommy, some of these stickers might be like, you've been winning races in this car, this exact car, since before Dylan was born, So he should know how to drive that car and what it's going to do when it feels like this and stuff like that. And he's like, yeah, exactly. He's like, if I didn't know by now, I should probably quit, And that's a good point.
And check this out too. I know we winding down, everybody. Welcome into the GBR community. Lamar Jumpland says he loves the show, new to racing. It would be awesome to have an episode on getting into racing for newbies. First of all, I think you're in the right place. Ask questions. There's plenty of people in this community who will answer if you have some questions. Today's episode was don't let too many people steer you on how you do what you're about to do in that race car. As it comes to things to have at a racetrack, stuff like that, maybe easy things like, hey, which brand oil are you using? GBR 10 to get you 10% off at Driven. So if you're on methanol, Casey will have to help you with the gasoline types of oil and things of that nature. But if you're on methanol, we got you on the oil side of things. But welcome to the GBR community. Make sure you hit the like and follow button, man. Thanks for commenting there.
So I just got a text message, George.
Yeah.
My buddy Travis Morton says, talk about why door cars have to always go first at the big races.
There's
something for you.
I don't know if we want to save that for the next stream, but I'll just comment on it a little bit. It needs to change. It needs to flip flop. At least one day dragsters go first, the next day door cars go first, and vice versa. I think that adds a little bit of a little bit more competition to the game, maybe a little bit more of a spin on, dragsters get to wait how long before they go down the track. So if you stayed up late, you get that much more sleep as a dragster. That's worse than true start. I'm just being honest with you. You can't just keep making the door cars go first every single event, guys. We got to switch that up. Make them dragsters go first every now and then. I'm done. It's easy.
I've wondered that a lot of times also, just why the door cars are always running first all the time, because the only thing that makes any sense is typically then the door cars are the ones that are slower, so technically cold track's safer with a slower car. But anymore, man, there's a lot of fast door cars out there anymore where that's not true.
And that's appropriate in certain times of the year, but keep going, Because if you come out here in Texas, if you race at 8 in the morning, it's probably 100 degrees already any doggone way. So heating the track is definitely the last thing we got to worry about out here. That's fun.
I think a lot of it is a lot of the door car racers are kind of like, I'm here to race, let's go race. You know what I mean? Like I just noticed that in the lanes a lot of times. It's just like door car drivers are kind of like, let's go. Whoever's next to me, who am I running? I don't really care who I'm running. Let's go.
So what you saying? Dragster drivers out there doing yoga while we up driving?
Maybe.
Nah,
you never know.
I need to do some yoga. My dog myself, many cramps as I catch when I get in that car. I know you guys have had that conversation. That might be a good one for you too. I forgot your name in here, but I'm gonna scroll up. Lamar, make sure you stay hydrated out there, man. Is one thing that I'm gonna say right off the rip. Them cramps will get you going down the track, and we just don't want that to happen. So stay hydrated. I'll stay on pickle juice and potassium pills and water and Gatorade and more water and more Gatorade. So hey, there's another thing too. Casey, what you got in closing, man? We can keep going on this one. This has been pretty good,
dude. I gotta throw a shout out to all the Glock cars, man, at this spring fling deal. You know how I always am saying North Carolina's got the best racers, and I know you think Texas does, but I'm just saying, man, Thursday 30K, 12 cars, 3 of them are Galot cars, one of them being Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson down to 6th round. I want to say Blaine Parrish, I know, was real deep on Friday. Saturday, obviously Michael Jackson wins the points championship, gets our MVP for sure. So at the end of the day, man, right now I'm looking pretty good in our competition here.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Us Texas boys, we still standing loud and proud, though. Now, don't get it twisted. But,
hey, man, your boy came up here. Your boy came up here and took the money at Rockingham.
Hey,
so
tell about it. CG will take everybody's money. Don't get it twisted. No, guys, thanks for joining us in closing. And, thanks for hitting that like, share, subscribe button. Casey and I really enjoy having this podcast and vlogs now coming out. So hopefully I'll catch a little bit of footage. I don't actually do the podcast inside of going bracket racing, but maybe I'll get you some shorts or some short videos of in-car footage with me and Mo. So wish us luck.
George, I don't know if you noticed this, but you're talking about the vlogging side because this is the Going Bracket Racing podcast.
Yeah. I know. I said vlog, didn't I?
You said podcast. Everybody's probably wondering why you're here.
Oh. Well, my bad. Everybody makes mistakes. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us. And as always, we'll see you guys another episode of GBR Live next Tuesday. Thanks for joining. See you.